Flicker. Hey guys, it's day 7. I'm getting later and later with these. I should be back on schedule tomorrow on Monday. Today is day 7. We've made it through a full week. And all of you who've asked about us and the storm, we are so blessed. The rain is still coming down. Thankfully, we have not lost power for very long at all. It's back on right now. Fingers crossed it stays on. We are still getting heavy rains, and what's happening now is the flooding. Apparently, the flooding is going to continue to be bad in our area, particularly east of us in Fayetteville. So certainly we've been very, very fortunate that we have kept power. So we're coming to the end of week 1. So we have a couple of things to do. One, we're wrapping up our week. And day 7, we talk about our team plate. And we do our week review. And so if you've been doing those mile markers of success, do that. The PDF, if you don't have the book, it's on my website for free. So if you go to www.cookingketowithkristie.com, the form is there, and you can do the mile markers of success. And what we ask about that, and that I'm trying to find the page. I'm terrible with looking through the pages of this. But on those mile markers of success, we look at the things that have changed for us. Remember yesterday we talked about if you want things to be different, how you need to do things differently. And those mile markers of success, I thank you, Carrie. Those mile markers of success are about what's different in our lives after we've been eating differently. In the first week, one of the things I noticed on the mile markers of success was I noticed a difference in hunger. That was huge. The other things I noticed was weight loss. I'm trying to get away from weight loss. So hunger was the big thing that I noticed in the first mile marker of success. In the very first week, probably some of you may be noticing a difference in clothes. I didn't notice a difference in clothing right away. It probably took me 2 or 3 weeks before I got to that point with noticing a difference in clothing. But anyway, those mile markers also notice your meal composition. So particularly if you're seeing a difference in your clothes, in your hunger, pay attention to those meals. Usually it's the meals that are higher in fat, moderate protein, low in carbs that help keep me full longest, keep me satiated. If I find that I'm getting hungry before that, if I've only gone a few hours and gotten hungry, it's probably because I don't have things quite right on my plate. And we talk about that on page 128 on day 7, your team plate. And again, you don't have to have the book to go along with us on the 28-day guide. But who you have on your team really matters a lot. And I talk about that on who's on your plate. Protein's a hard worker. He's dependable, strong, knowledgeable. But too much protein will slowly raise blood glucose. So you don't want to eat too much in any meal. But you do want to have at least some protein generally with every meal, because protein is that strong team player. Fat is the networker. Fat, including both dietary fat, the fat you eat, and stored fat, should be your primary source of fuel. Of the 3 team members, fat is the least likely to raise blood glucose. Can you eat too much fat? Well, sure you can, but you're likely to feel nausea or have digestive distress if you get too much fat. And you'll know if you're paying attention. The 3rd team member I talk about on page 128 is carbohydrate. And carbs can be those fun teammates, the good guys, fun people who always bring the extra cooler. That happens sometimes, but too much of a good thing is too much, and carb raises the volume up a little too high for the neighbors, raises the blood glucose. So you want to make sure that you keep those carbohydrates low if you're keeping your blood glucose stable. The team that you create on your plate for every single meal is what matters the most. Okay, so that's my husband coming in, hollering wet dog. Sorry about that. I guess he didn't realize I was live. He came in the door, he'd been walking the dog. Banjo had insisted on being walked. But anyway, if you ever feel tired or sleepy, you need to look at the team on your plate. Do you have the right balance of team members in terms of protein, fat, and carbohydrate? And whether you feel tired or sleepy, a whole pork steak may be too much. Somebody's asked if that's too much. A whole pork steak may be absolutely too much. It takes some time and some patience to figure it out, but you know by the results that you see, just like any team project, you know from the results you see whether those are the right mix of macronutrients. Another thing I want to talk about with getting the right team on your plate, it's really interesting to me. So, we've been in the storm, and so Grace and I went out on an errand yesterday. So we decided part of it was just getting out of the house. And the other part of it was we wanted to get, and yes, I've got a wet dog wallowing on the sofa behind me. But part of it was we wanted to get out of the house. So David had taken my car. He had taken our generator over to a lady from our church who was without power. And so he had my car with the SUV to put the generator in, and I had taken his smaller car. So my wallet, or my pocketbook, was in his car. And Grace had grabbed a $20 bill. And we ended up at the grocery store, which was open. We were surprised. We'd gone actually to check on a colleague's house. The coworker had gone out of town, and so I had told her I would try to drive by and check and make sure that her house was okay. And so when we got in the car, we didn't know we were going to the store. But she happened to grab a 20. I had and looked around in David's car and found a $20 bill and a $1 bill. So we had $41. And so when the grocery store was open, I thought, while we're in the grocery store, there are a few things that I need to pick up. And Jonathan poking around. There are a few things I need to pick up, and so we'll run in. And so what was interesting was I went into the store, and I only had cash. And oftentimes when I'm shopping, I use a credit card. I just swipe it through that way because I rarely have any cash on me at all. Like, they always say if you get mugged, you should have $20 for the mugger. Like, I'm going to just get shot because I can never have any cash on me at all. So anyway, we had $41. I went in and I thought, well, I'll get some mushrooms. And I was paying attention. I was really trying to pay attention to prices on stuff because I only had cash. And so I had gotten some mushrooms and I got an avocado. They were 2 for $5, but I remember telling Gracie, we're just going to get one because $2.50 I think is a little pricey for an avocado. But anyway, we kind of went through the store and picked up some of the things that we needed. Bye guys, be safe. Picked up some of the things we needed. And when we got to the checkout, the lady made a mistake. And instead of telling us the total was $28.38, she told us the total was $58.38. Well, I'm just standing there, and I felt like a little kid. I'm standing there with the money in my hand, and I literally had $41. And I look, and I'm like, 2021. And I look at the lady and I look up at the cash register thing to see, what the amount was. And I said, I'm sorry, how much is it? And she said, $58.38. And I'm like, and I just kind of like hesitate. My heart has dropped. And I'm like, I don't have enough money. And so I start thinking about what can I put back? And then when I stop and really look at what we have at the checkout, I was like, wait a minute. And I said to the lady, are you sure this is $58? And she looked back through it and she had not done a total. She had done something incorrect. I don't know what it was, but it was $28. And I had enough money. But I was telling my husband this story, and I was like, it was such an important lesson to me because I am so bad to carry my credit card and I just swipe things. But when I was shopping with cash, I had to be very careful. I had to think about what does an item cost. Man, $2.50 is a lot for an avocado, isn't it? I ended up buying 2 packs of mushrooms for $4. I'm like, wow, $4 for mushrooms. And it reminded me of being insulin resistant, right? And I talk about the least of these. And I think those of us who are really insulin resistant are a lot like the least of these. Those of us who don't have a lot of money in the bank account, who don't have a lot of cash on hand. And so stay with me on this analogy. I think when we're insulin resistant, we have to be careful because we're like that poor person, that person in the grocery store who only has cash and has a limited amount of cash. If you're healthy and you're not insulin resistant and you can eat low carb, you can stay. There are people who can stay in ketosis at 100 grams of carbs per day. That's like people who make $500,000 a year, right? They can make $500,000 a year. They've got a lot more room for screw ups. They can spend $4 on a pack of mushrooms and not think twice about it. But for those of us who are insulin resistant, who have to be so careful, it's like being in the grocery store only with cash and a limited amount of money. We don't have unlimited means. We can't just pile everything in the grocery cart and go home and expect to have money. We can't just pile everything on our plate without counting all of those carbohydrates. So let me just caution you, it was really great for me. I was actually kind of glad that it happened. And I told my husband, I'm going to have to be so much more careful at the grocery store because I'm used to just using my credit card. And thankfully, I don't get in trouble with that most of the time. But there are people who can't do that. And just like those of you who have healthy systems, that's great. That's awesome. I hate you because you can eat those higher carb things. You can get away with 100 grams of carbohydrate and be in ketosis. That's wonderful for you. I can't do that. When I show up, when I put my plate together, when I put my team together, I have to be super, super careful because I literally cannot afford that high number of carbohydrates. So I hope that story is helpful to you as you think about carbs for yourself. So we're wrapping up week 1. I have not been posting. Our Wi-Fi has been crazy. We've been lucky to have power, but our Wi-Fi hasn't quite been there. So I haven't been posting, but there is a meal plan for week 2 in the book on like pages 64, 65. There's a meal plan on my website with a shopping list. Shopping list is not in the book. Shopping list is on the website. My website is not monetized. So I just want to be really clear about this. I have not monetized the website because this is not about making money. On the website, I put resources for you just to help you. I don't charge for the Facebook group. The only money I make off of this is when you buy a book. And trust me when I say this is the absolute gospel truth. I've not earned a penny off this book. We get paid, I think, in October for the book. So just so you know, I have not been paid a dime for any of this. And that's fine. That's just how it works. But I want people who have accused me of doing this 28-day guide because I make money. Let me tell you, the guide is free. I've been trying to make the resources available for free on my website, which is not monetized. And the reason my website's not monetized is because if I monetize it, there'll be advertisers I can't control. So I don't want to go on my website and see an ad for a Halo Top ice cream or something stupid like that is not truly low carb. So for me, it's about integrity and saying, you know what, because if you go to my website and you see an ad for something I don't really endorse, something I don't use, if you see an ad for Quest bars, I'm going to lose my mind over that because I don't recommend those, and I don't want you to be mistaken and think that I recommend those. So I don't monetize any of that stuff intentionally. So anyway, just so you know, I want to be clear about that because somebody really hurt my feelings accusing me of doing this just to make money, and I'm not getting paid to do any of it. And like I said, I haven't made a dime off the book so far. We get paid twice a year, and that hasn't happened. So not complaining. I just want you to know that this is really a work of heart. It's not about the money. Week 2, we're getting into week 2. I hope that you guys are following along with us on week 2. On page 131, we talk about, there's a little homework for you, and I'll go over the homework with you. I want you to complete your shopping list and your meal prep for week 2. Decide what you're going to eat. Remember, decide what you're going to eat in advance. Make your bone broth in case you have any keto flu. You should be through that by now. Here's a challenge for you, okay? I want you to commit to making just one new recipe or one new meal this week, just one. When I committed, one of the things that I think was key to my success was I committed to making 2 new recipes per week, 2 per week. And I'm challenging you to make one, just make one per week. And I think that you will be able to create new habits, new recipes, new go-to things when you don't know what to eat. That's the hardest part of this, when you don't know what to eat. I'm going to challenge you to do that. I'm also going to challenge you to use online menus and nutritional information to find meals at local restaurants that you can enjoy. There's a restaurant guide. We talked a little bit about staying safe, scanning the menu, asking questions, find options, and eat until you're satisfied. I'm going to challenge you to do that too, and there's a form for that. I'll try to put that restaurant guide, the form, on my webpage too. If you're struggling, read my top 10 navigation tips. Now, those top 10 tips are in the book, pages 108 through 110. Also on my website for free. So if you go to www.cookingketowithkristie.com, you'll see that top 10 tips for staying on plan. Take your photos, right? Take your measurements. There's a guide for that on the website and on pages 98 and 99. Use those markers to track your progress. And throughout the week, use the week 2 mile marker summary to record your progress. So I'll be back on, somebody else is saying they did this, that they used the challenge of creating 1 or 2 new recipes. Diet Doctor website also has some great recipes. If you go to dietdoctor.com, you'll see some really good recipes there now too. Some of you say you're prepping now. I'm so proud of you guys. That is so awesome. If you don't do different, things will never be different. Remember that. Let me go back to the thought for the day. Oops, I forgot. On page 128, just for today, I will build a strong team of macronutrients for each of my meals. Strong team of macronutrients for each of your meals. You control what's on your plate. Put the good stuff on there, guys. Have a great Saturday. I hope you're staying safe in the storm. I'll be checking in with you tomorrow morning. Take care. Mwah.